Good evening and welcome to the City of Helena City Commission meeting. This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Interim City Attorney Coe.
Here.
Interim City Manager Burton.
Here.
Commissioner Dean. Here. Commissioner Fever.
Here.
Commissioner Reed. Here. Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here. Welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena City Commission meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's effort to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage and your participation. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance. The minutes for April 6, April 11 were received. Do we have any comments or corrections? If not, they will stand as submitted. Presentation, confirmation of probationary firefighter and Adam Harrington. Chief John Campbell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Manager Burton. We're here for the confirmation and swearing in of firefighter Adam Harrington. Adam has completed his probationary year with Helena Fire Department. Adam's originally from Oklahoma. He's an Army veteran, and he brings 7 years experience as a firefighter paramedic from Brevard County Fire Rescue in Florida. Adam is a family and community-oriented guy. Adam and his wife Belle have 2 children, Ford and Finley. Helena Fire Department is lucky to have Adam in our ranks, and he'll be an asset to this community for years to come. Mr. Mayor, at this time, I request you administer the firefighter oath to Adam Harrington.
Okay, Adam. Would you raise your right hand, please? I, you called your name,
Adam Harrington,
recognize my obligation as a firefighter
recognize my obligation as a firefighter
for the City of Helena
for the City of Helena
to protect and serve
to protect and serve
life and property
life and property
of the public I serve.
of the public I serve.
And do I solemnly swear
And do I solemnly swear
that I will support
that I'll support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of
the office of
firefighter
firefighter
for the City of Helena Fire Department,
for the City of Helena Fire Department,
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sign that later on for you. Well, let's give the guy a round of applause.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm delighted that the Helena Fire Department has hired somebody from Oklahoma. You know, we need more folks from Oklahoma living here in Montana. I've always felt kind of lonely being one of so few. So Adam, welcome. Welcome to our town. Glad to have you aboard.
Okay, proclamation. We have the Small Business Week 2022 City of Helena proclamation. Whereas for more than 50 years, the U.S. Small Business Administration has celebrated National Small Business Week, which recognizes the critical contributions of America's entrepreneur and small business owners. And whereas the American entrepreneurial spirit is a defining quality of our nation, which time and again has lifted us to new heights and carried us through our greatest challenges. And whereas small businesses are not only the engines of our economic progress, they are the heart and soul of our communities. During National Small Business Week, we celebrate our nation's small businesses, the pillars of their neighborhood. And whereas when the pandemic first struck our nation in March of 2020, it posed a historic challenge to America's small businesses. During this time, small business owners and workers demonstrated remarkable courage and resilience, adapting to sudden changes in our way of life and stepping up to serve their communities. Whereas Helena, Montana supports our small businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas public and private organizations across the country have endorsed May 2nd through May 5th as National Small Business Week. And whereas I urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants during National Small Business Week throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Wilmot Collins, Mayor of the City of Helena, Montana, do hereby proclaim May 2nd through May 6, 2022 as National Small Business Week throughout the City of Helena, Montana. In witness whereof, I hereinto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Helena, Montana to be affixed this 25th day of April 2022. Wilmot Collins, Mayor, Clerk of the Commission, Danae Claiborne. Mr. Shirley? I'll present it here and then.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, new interim city manager Burton, honored guests, and our newly minted firefighter, welcome. Thank you very much for this proclamation. I really appreciate it. I have a history of working with small businesses. I've worked with businesses here in Helena, the great city of Helena, and all across the state. And they are truly the backbone of our communities. They're the backbone of our state's economy, and they're the heart and soul of our towns. And so with this, I really appreciate it a lot. So thank you very much.
Good. You know, it's becoming harder and harder for people to clap, you know, so I'll start it. Consent agenda. A, the Montana History Foundation has awarded the city $10,000 for the fire tower rehabilitation. Director Christy Penoza. Okay.
Mayor, Christie is home, not feeling well. And I think in the commission packet, you can see a description that the Montana History Foundation's awarded the city of Helena $10,000 for the Helena Fire Tower rehabilitation. It speaks about the history of the fire tower, the significance of its place in the city of Helena, the importance of this project, and the importance of this project and the significance that it brings to our community, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Grant award acceptance. Oh,
We need a motion, Mr. Mayor.
what did you say? I didn't get you.
Do we need a motion to
Excuse me,
receive?
Commissioner, please. Oh, for the History Foundation. Okay, Mr. Tardo, are you available? You have the floor.
I'm available if anybody has any questions regarding the grant.
Okay, any comments or questions from the commission for Ms. Attardo? Do we have any public comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
are we going to be approving the entire consent agenda as 4 items, or are we doing it individually?
I think we should just approve the entire instead of going individually. I always forget she's online. I keep looking around.
Sorry.
You're throwing me off. Yes, we'll go ahead and approve the entire. Thanks, Commissioner. Grant award acceptance for the old shooting range improvement project as proposed and approved by the Missouri River RAC in September of 2021 for $47,150. Captain Corey Bailey. You have the floor, sir.
Don't believe that's a police department, the shooting range, that would be a parks.
Oh, well, I'm just going with the agenda.
Yeah, no, I know, I apologize, but I believe that's a parks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider final passage of an ordinance pre-zoning prior to annexation to B2 general commercial for the property legally described as tract B1 as shown on the certificate of survey file under document number 3203658, generally located a mile north of East Custer Avenue and North Washington Street intersection. Planner McConnell.
Mayor, Commissioners, this item is for the development commonly known as Kings Common, North Washington Street and East Custer Avenue. And I'm available for any questions that you might have regarding this.
Thank you. Comments or questions for the planner? Okay. Consider final passage of an ordinance pre-zoning prior to annexation R4 residential for property legally described as 9.123 acre portion of tract A, 1A, 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 1 of the amended plat of the crossroad at Mountain View. Mountain View Meadow subdivision, document number 3386391, generally located on the northwest corner of Runkle Parkway and Alpine View Drive. McConnell, you have anything you want to add?
Mayor, Commissioners, no, nothing to add, but again, available for questions if there are any.
Comments or questions from the commission? If not, we'll take all the consent agenda as one. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move consent agenda items A, B, C, and D.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, did you want to take public comment on the consent agenda?
Commissioners, any comments from the commission? Is there any public comment? Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Fever,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Communications proposals from commissioners. What have you, commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
apparently, I think I was asleep at the switch while Mr. Harrington and Chief Campbell were up. I just wanted to say congratulations to Mr. Harrington and thank you for stepping forward. You're, as you probably already know, you're in for quite a ride and enjoy the time that you have with the fire department. I always used to recommend to people coming on that you might write some of your stories down because you are going to have quite a few of them. So anyway, thank you very much for your service and congratulations on this milestone in your career. Thank you.
Any other communications from the commission?
Mr. Mayor. It's
Yes,
the
yes.
voice from beyond again.
Go ahead, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the staff and Manager Burton for the presentation on Wednesday. It was an admin meeting, so I don't know how much the public was able to engage with that, but the presentation on land use was excellent, super informative. There was some great information that came out of it that I will do my best to share. But I would encourage members of the public to reach out to us on issues of land use, and we will again do our best to make sure the public's informed. But thank you to Mr. Burton and Mr. Leland and everybody else who presented information. It was extremely informative and I was very grateful. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? All right, report of the city attorney.
Nothing to report this evening, Mr. Mayor. And I will also note that while there is a litigation strategy item on the agenda,
Right.
we have no litigation strategy update for today.
Thank you. Report of the city manager.
Mayor, I also have nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. Communications from Helena Citizens Council. Helena Citizen Council Representative Lowell Chandler. Yes, come on up.
It's nice to meet all of you here in person. I don't have anything to report, but I just wanted to say hello and thank you all for everything you do for our city. And
Thank
I
you.
look forward to a good meeting.
Thank you. Okay, regular items. We have a little different order. We'll wait till our heroes leave. Here at, we have a different order of our regular items. We will address Charlie, then we'll go to Bravo, then we'll go to Alpha. And Charlie is consider final passage of an ordinance pre-zoning property described as track A on a certificate of survey identified as document number 3360858 and all of block 4, 5, 6, and 9 of the Highland Park subdivision, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, as R2 residential, R3 residential. Planner McConnell.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Commission, this is actually going to be tabled at the request of the applicant. So I'd ask the mayor entertain a motion to table to the call of the city manager.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, do you have anything you want to add before we move forward?
No, Mayor, I think Michael covered it.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would move to table final passage to the call of the city manager of an ordinance pre-zoning property described as tract A on the certificate of survey identified as document number 3360858 and all of blocks 4, 5, 6, and 9 of the Highland Park subdivision, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, as R2 residential and R3 residential.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do you have any final discussion?
Well, yes, Mr. Mayor. What is the implication of this tabling motion for this commission, for the city of Helena, for the developer, for the community that's right next door to this development? I mean, is this now delay a decision, or is there a new application coming forward, or exactly where are we in this process since we've already approved the pre-app?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. So this, I mean, definitely delays the vote for the zoning, the final passage for the zoning. I can't speak to the applicant's intention necessarily as far as whether or not they're going to submit a different application or a new application or what the timeframe might be for that. But this action tonight will delay to the call of the city manager, the vote for the final passage.
So may I, Mr. Mayor? If the applicant chooses to change their application, then that would start the process all over again. Yes, or is the pre-app that we already approved by a 3-2 vote, is that still in play or not?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, yes, it's still in play. If they were to change, depending on the severity of the changes, it could kick the pre-zoning back to the zoning commission.
Well, Mr. Mayor, and again, the last time we dealt with this, the pre-app was approved and then we got into street variances and they were disapproved and that changed the application apparently. So I'm just curious as to how this process unfolds. And I know that as a person who's not dealt with very many annexations of property like this, it is a curious thing. It seems to be developing here.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I can't speak to their intentions really. We met this morning and what I know right now is that they would like to table this
What is it?
pending any developments in their design.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any other discussion from the commission? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean,
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, do we have any public comments on this topic? Do we have any online, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no hands raised and no written public comment online.
Are you coming for public comment, sir? Come on over, please.
Members of the commission and Mr. Mayor, for the record, my name is Pat McKelvey. For some 20 over years, I was project manager for the Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. I am currently still on the board of Fire Safe Montana. I was looking at this and I haven't really fully looked at everything that's been submitted to all of you. But the reason I came tonight was my quick observation was that here's an opportunity for the city, for the commission now, to take a look at this thing from an aspect of those cul-de-sacs, which are critically known to be in evacuation situations, very dangerous. And my quick look at that plat was that, wow, that's all it is cul-de-sacs. Not only that, but they doubled the mileage for just day-to-day travel typically. So my concern was that in a fire situation, and we have risk rated that whole west side, the whole south side, well, the city of Helena. And it's well within spotting distance from a wildland fire on Mount Helena and to the west. Now, there has been some mitigation actions done by the city, very good work, and down on some of the white property, which was, or I guess had been donated to part of it to the city. So, and my other concern was that when developments happen, the fuel hazard risk often changes. The residents plant different kinds of trees, for example, junipers, which are a huge risk for wildland fire. So that was my concern in coming tonight. I don't know the process well either. I don't know what the tabling action does, but certainly when you get a chance to reconsider, if that happens, I would ask you to look at that aspects of mitigation and the primary risk to evacuation situations and the opportunity to stop some of what's been going on seemed like every week, every fire season lately in structure loss and human life loss. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh yeah, you called this name. Do we have any other comments from the public? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Fever.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Okay. We just did Charlie, we're on to Bravo. Okay, consider a variance to 12-4-7 Bravo of the City of Helena subdivision regulations to allow variations from city wastewater system standards for the Shopko minor subdivision. Planner McConnell.
I get set up here. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Michael McConnell. I'll be presenting the Shopko minor subdivision and variance applications here tonight. I'm going to do those in one presentation just for expediency and convenience. And I have motion language provided for both at the conclusion of the presentation. So the applicant and the property owner are also here, I believe one in person, one via Zoom, if there are any questions for them as we move forward. And just so we're all aware, with this variance application would not cause the preliminary plat application to be derailed. It wouldn't impact the viability of that application. So as it might in some other circumstances. So this is a vicinity map showing the location of the proposal. I'm sure we're all familiar with the former Shopko site. It's on the northeast corner of North Montana and East Custer Avenues. Currently, there are two structures on site, obviously the former Shopko building and then a brand new Chase Bank building as well. I guess there's a third structure on site as well. It's an Applebee's, although that lot and that structure are not part of this application. So this is a minor subdivision application creating 5 or fewer lots, in this case, 4 lots. The process is different from a major subdivision in a variety of ways, and those are up on screen right now. It doesn't require a planning board meeting, doesn't require a public hearing of any kind. That's why this is on the regular agenda. There are different noticing requirements and different timeframes for that notification and for review as well. Also, there is no requirement for an environmental assessment, but the applicant is required to and did provide a summary of probable impacts as they relate to the state mandated review criteria. So like I said, it's a 4-lot minor on just shy of 11 acres. The properties are now, and they will remain zone B2. That's our general commercial zone, which allows obviously all manner of commercial uses as well as moderate and high density residential uses. The minor subdivisions are still required to either donate land or give cash in lieu of donating land for parks purposes. They went on April 6th, and the Parks Board voted unanimously to accept the applicant's cash in lieu recommendation. So given that all the lots associated with the subdivision would gain access to their sites via either North Montana Avenue or East Custer Avenue, and the likelihood of getting an approach through MDT is slim. The applicant is providing an access easement throughout the property for that purpose, both for emergency access and for public access. Water is obtained via an easement to the north, and sewer is located in Custer Avenue. So the internal review process did not identify any significant adverse impacts as a result of this subdivision, though it did identify 2 conditions related to local services that do need to be addressed prior to final plat and definitely prior to building permit. First, a new fire hydrant does need to be installed on the northeast corner of the newly created or potentially newly created lot 1A, 1A2, and then any new infrastructure or stormwater needs to be installed prior to final plat. So the second condition is sort of a hedge against the variance being denied for some reason. So this is a snip from the preliminary plat document showing the location and kind of the layout of the subdivision. And you can see the access easement is called out via 2 dashed lines, and it goes behind lots 1, 2, and 3, kind of between those lots and the Shopko parking lot proper. So this is that same picture. The red line indicates where the pressurized wastewater service currently is. That's the subject of the variance that has been applied for. So normally with a subdivision of any size, the applicant would be required to extend water and sewer mains across the frontage of any newly created lots. In this case, the Chase Bank building business is in operation currently. And so the service line is already there. It's in place, and that's why the applicant is seeking this variance. Public Works did provide comment on the variance application and indicated that they would have no issue from a technical standpoint. So this property is classified on the future land use map as being ideally suited for commercial uses. This would obviously include all manner of commercial use, but also high density and moderate density residential uses as well. The current B2 zoning is consistent with this classification and potential use types. This subdivision does meet other growth policy goals and objectives. They're on screen. Promoting infill development. It's very important. Objective for the city, also creating situations in which we can more effectively use or utilize our infrastructure, as well as creating opportunity for economic development. And this subdivision meets those goals. So this process does align with city and state codes regarding public notice. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but minor subdivisions do have a lower threshold to meet than major subdivisions. And the steps that we took are on screen. We sent letters to adjacent property owners, as well as posted signs on site. With that, that's all I have for you in terms of a presentation. For motion language, when you are ready, first for the variance and then for the preliminary plat application. So Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, if there are any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer those. Thanks.
Thank you, Planner McConnell. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, Michael, what happens to the Shopko building?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, that's a good question. I don't have information on that. The applicant is here. The owner is here. They might be able to answer that question if they have a plan in place.
Mr. Mayor, I think that'd be a great question to answer if somebody knows the answer, because it looks like we're just approving lots around a building and it's still there. So that would be what I'd be interested in right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead,
I do
Commissioner.
have 2 questions. One was similar of, do we know what is going to go here? And then my second question was, I hope my mic's doing something weird. On the variance, one of the disadvantages that we have listed in our packet discusses that approving the variance, there can be no extensions past where the proposed lot ends. No other connections can be made past this point on a pressurized service line. Can you explain what that means? And does that hinder our opportunity for further development out there later?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm not an engineer, but that's, if Ryan can step up and answer that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCall.
Mayor, Commissioner, in this case, what we look at is everything served out there? And then where the sewer goes is in behind Shopko. it gravity feeds and goes down and then across Montana into another lift station that gets pumped up. So as you go further north, there would be closer to the actual main itself. And so this one doesn't represent a huge problem for us because there's nothing else in that area that is unserved that would need a line to connect to. So as you connect the main, you want to go across frontage property so the next person can grab onto it and go across and continue to do this. This is actually on the uphill side. We have Custer Avenue that has the main. So as you get closer to Custer, and then everything that is north of this will flow to the north and then be pumped up. So this would have been on the end of the sewer main. So it is all built out. So that's why we are not suggesting that the main get extended.
Can I just follow up?
Please.
So you're not foreseeing any circumstance where this variance is going to cause an issue for someone else down the line?
Mayor, Commissioner, no.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any other comments from the commission? For public comments, I hear that the owners are here. We'll invite them up.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Greg Worth, WIRTH, with Staley Engineering at 3530 Centennial Drive, here on behalf of the applicant, City Vest Incorporated. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Michael McConnell for preparing the staff report and working with him in the subdivision review. Project overview, this will create 4 lots for out parcel development at the Shopko site, typical California open air mall that we see in modern urban sites. The out parcel development will allow the financial means and activity to support the redevelopment of the Shopko building. To speak specifically to Commissioner Dean and Fever's questions regarding the Shopko building. I'm not at liberty, and to be honest, I don't even have the information of what's going to happen to the Shopko building. Obviously, this is a component of the project that allows the energy, the investment for something to happen to the Shopko building. I do know they've been speaking with national tenants, for as long as I've been involved in the project for the redevelopment of the Shopko building. I'd be cautious. I'd be reluctant to speculate on what those entities are, because until the contracts are signed, they can change. But obviously, we can all venture to guess what the big box stores, what the potential tenants may be. But obviously, this project, creates the traffic generation, the energy, that makes this more attractive for, development entities. So I suspect as a result of this project, those will be forthcoming. As we all know, the Shopko building has been vacant for several years. The redevelopment will alleviate the continued deterioration and negative impacts that have arisen with the lack of use of the Shopko building. This project specifically addresses the Shopko site being directly referenced in the growth policy to support infill and revitalization efforts, create growth while minimizing the community's physical footprint. There is no change in the zoning for this proposal. The property is zoned as B2, and I just want to make you aware that this development can occur outside of a subdivision review. The subdivision is to create the lots, which is based on market demand, and to provide the land security needed for investor needs. So it magically draws, obviously the Costco or the Shopko site is on there. The Chase Bank went on there. It's all one piece of property right now. They have lease agreements set up. The subdivision will create the lines that allows transfer of those properties, but it's all under one larger umbrella covenants on the property. The variance request is to allow the existing pressurized sewer service for the Chase Bank that was permitted and constructed last year with the building permit. The variance is needed, since this is an atypical situation. I appreciate, thank you, Mr. Ryan Leland. I do anticipate this being kind of a one-off type situation based on how things are developed around the site.
The variance is needed since the closest existing sanitary sewer is along Custer Avenue, and that's up gradient of the site. So obviously the site, slopes to the north. The sanitary sewer main is to the south, so it's higher. So it's just physically impossible to get a gravity pipe to the site. Even if you brought a gravity pipe closer to the site, you'd still have to pump up to it. So this is, the variance is to formally, allow the pressurized services as part of the subdivision process. The gravity main extension, just will not serve the property due to topography. I will point out that, the private pump station pressurized service, it's wholly operated by the owner. Just like a service. So the city has no maintenance responsibility in the pressurized sewer service. So with that, we've reviewed the staff report. I agree with the conditions. We request approval of the variance and also the preliminary plat approval. I will note the permitting for the additional fire hydrant is in process already. There, as people know, the Chick-fil-A building on the site has applied for a building permit already, so their owners are anxious to get moving. I'm available to answer any questions the mayor commissioner might have of myself. The owner, City of Eston Incorporated, Mr. Michael Mossman, is in attendance online if you have any questions pertaining to non-specific technical matters that I might not be able to answer. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Worth. Comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments at this time? Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no hands raised and I have no written public comment.
Okay, we'll address the variance first. I'll entertain a motion. Yes.
I would move to approve a variance to 12-4-7B of the City of Helena subdivision regulations to allow variations from city wastewater system standards for the Shopko Minor subdivision.
Second.
Any final discussion from the commission? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Fever.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We'll now address the conditional use. The preliminary plat.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to conditionally approve the preliminary plat for the Shopko minor subdivision, creating 4 new lots from 10.86 acres, and to adopt the findings of fact and the conditions contained therein for the property legally described as Lot 1A of the amended plat of the Shopko minor subdivision in the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana, filed under document number 3171732.
Second.
Any final discussion from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I will say, I don't know, sorry, I don't know what's wrong with it. Excited to see some action in this area, better than an empty building. And I'm very excited to see the boulevards there hopefully mowed, because I know that has been something that has been lacking in the last year or so. So very excited to see movement there.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Fever.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Alpha, consider the final passage of an ordinance pre-zoning prior to annexation of R4 residential for property legally described as a 9.123 acre portion of tract A, 1A, 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 1 of the amended plat of Crossroad Mountain View Meadow subdivision number 3386391 generally located on the northwest corner of Runkle Parkway and Alpine View Drive. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see this item on the agenda that I'm looking at.
Well, I didn't read out of this sky blue. I have it right here. We went through C, B, and now we're on alpha.
Mr. Mayor, that was a consent item A. We've already dealt with that matter.
We went through. Attorney Coates?
Mr. Mayor, can you repeat which one you're looking at again?
I am now, we had to do Charlie, then we went to Bravo, now we're on Alpha. And
we've already handled all of those items, Mr. Mayor.
I made the motion for A.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Sarah Perry. I'm the president of Save Helena West Side, which I know you've heard from many times in the recent months. And I just wanted to comment more generally, since I know the specific agenda item for which I came this evening was tabled, but I did want to bring your attention to some concerns we have in general about how wildfire and evacuation concerns are being taken into consideration in the subdivision process. When the Westside Woods pre-zone staff report was written on September 28th, 2021, that's the staff report that was included in your packets for tonight's meeting. That was written on September 28th, 2021. And at that time, wildfire and evacuation safety concerns were not yet on the radar of city staff. So when the staff made that recommendation nearly 7 months ago, the recommendation that you were going to be asked to take into consideration this evening had the agenda item not been tabled. So that recommendation made nearly 7 months ago, it was done without ever giving local agencies with expertise in wildfire and evacuation the opportunity to comment on the proposal. And yet, after a wealth of new information was brought forth in public forum these past 7 months regarding dangers of wildfire, the staff recommendation and evaluation remained the same. Now, to be clear, I'm told that that has to remain the same throughout this process. That's a requirement of the process. And for that reason, I'm not faulting the staff for what wasn't yet on their radar when the report was written. However, it should be on everyone's radar now. As members of the Helena's West Side neighborhood are not the only ones talking about wildfire risk to our community. On March 23rd of this year, wildfire experts told the Environmental Quality Council for the state of Montana that, quote, the opportunity for fire will exist more days per year and more days per decade in Montana, end quote. They also said, quote, logging and thinning alone has not been shown to prevent large wildfires burning under extreme conditions, end quote. They also said, quote, wildfire trends are outpacing mitigation measures, end quote. In your April, I wrote down 8th, but I think it might have been the 6th, your administrative meeting at the beginning of this month, when the drafted fire master plan was presented, and I listened in on that meeting, Emergency Services Consulting International stated that, quote, the highest natural hazard risk for the city of Helena is wildfires, end quote. And that, quote, there is no doubt in the scientific community that climate change will bring increased fire danger to the city of Helena, end quote. A week after that meeting, Fire Safe Helena released a video in which local wildfire expert Pat McKelvey, who you heard from earlier, I wasn't aware he was going to be here this evening, but I'm so grateful that he came to speak to you. And in the video Fire Safe Helena released, Mr. McKelvey stood on LeGrand Cannon Boulevard near the proposed subdivision on the west side and stated that, quote, Helena is nearly surrounded by forest and is at risk of a devastating urban fire, end quote. He went on to reference the recent fires in Denton, Montana and Boulder, Colorado. State law on subdivision requires that you, as the governing body, consider all relevant evidence relating to public health, safety, and welfare when you review subdivision applications. With the West Side subdivision being on the front lines of the wildland urban interface, and with local experts and national experts saying that wildfire risk to Helena will be increasing in the coming years, local agencies with expertise in wildfire behavior and emergency evacuations must be given the opportunity to comment on any proposal for a subdivision that will be built in the wildland urban interface of our community. Thank you for the opportunity to share my comments this evening.
Ms. Barry, would you
Yes,
hold
Mr.
over
Mayor.
1 minute?
Yes.
Thanks for the presentation. And I just want to find some, I've been receiving emails from Helena, Alabama. Did you all contact the people in Alabama to send us email?
Mr. Mayor, I can assure you that I never contacted anyone in Alabama.
No, I'm
to send you
serious. I
emails.
received emails talking about this subdivision, and I was totally confused. What are people in Alabama calling and emailing us for? So I just want to just make sure that you guys not doing this thing nationally now, you know. So.
No, sir, we're not.
Okay.
We're keeping it local, at least at
I
this
hear
point.
you. I hear you. Thank you. Any other comments for Ms. Berry? Thank you, Ms. Berry. Any other public comments? Madam Clerk, do we have any online?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no hands raised and no written public comment at this time.
Okay. Any final comments from the commission? Well,
Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank Ms. Perry for speaking about the fire issue. There are other issues in this subdivision, and I'm, for one, disappointed that has been tabled because I don't understand what that means for the city going forward. And so that leaves a large question in my mind as to what our role is as a commission going forward, because we did receive a substantial number of emails from folks opposed to the subdivision. And I received no emails from anybody in favor of the subdivision. And so there's a serious community interest in what's going on, not just those who live next to the subdivision as proposed, but all across town. So I think there's a lot of discovery here that still yet perhaps to be explored and revealed. And so it is a big issue, and as Ryan Leland pointed out, we have a lot of properties around town that want to be annexed into town. And so the things that to be developed and annexed into town. So, you know, there's a lot of precedent in whatever decision we make going forward. And so there can't be just a kind of a vague, well, we'll table it for 60 days or, and then we'll see what, the same thing again. I think that's a legitimate question for the commission, at least for this commissioner, to just sort of throw out there that I think it really needs to be answered. Thank you.
I think it's the developer's prerogative to want to delay this or not. We have no say in that, Commissioner.
Well, Mr. Mayor, and I don't want to argue with you, but the point is the law looks like it really sort of gravitates to in support of the developer, no matter what. Yet there's a huge public interest in seeing that there is safety protocols and that we don't find ourselves engulfed in an inferno that we could maybe see even coming. And some of that has to do with how that development is designed, its density of the streets, the lack of access and egress. I mean, there's just a lot of things that still are just hanging out there, and that the commission would be asked to approve just because the statutes seem to say we must do so, even though on the other hand, they say we must respect public safety. We must have an account for transportation issues. Those things apparently are subservient to the subdivision developers, if you will, point of view. And that bothers me as a commissioner. And it is part of, well, one of the things that, frankly, concerns me is the inability of cities and communities at large in Montana to fend for themselves when the state writes the rules. I think this community could write some very good rules about subdivision without the state's issue, but that's probably for another day as well. Thank you.
Do we have any other comments from the commission? This meeting is adjourned.